everyone, my name is Kezia. As some of you might know, I'm a volunteer from N.E.S.T since 2018. I've loved being a part of N.E.S.T, and today I'm having one of my friends, Rizka, that will help me to teach the session. So throughout the week, I will be teaching with some of my friends from uni, from Indonesia, to kind of give you a little bit of a fresh series. So this week we'll be having a series called Imagine, which is the theme of Refugee Week 2020. So in this week, we of course would love to celebrate you, celebrate your stories and your journey. But coinciding with the theme, we also would love to help you use your imagination, to kind of step beyond the current moment. We know that it might be stressful for some of you to kind of stay at home during this time, but we hope that this Imagine series will be able to help you use your imagination a little bit more. So today I have with me Rizka, and I'll just ask Rizka to introduce herself.
Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Rizka. I know Kezia from Newcastle University, so we both went to the same university before. And what else should I tell you? Actually, so Kezia introduced me what N.E.S.T is all about, and trying to share experiences, sharing stories, sharing education towards each other. I think it's a very empowering. It's actually an honor for me to be able to share a little bit of, I would say not knowledge, but just sharing kind of session with everyone, each and every one of you today. Yeah. So should I start or should I?
Yeah, of course, you can start.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the history of knitting. So why I chose the topic is because throughout ever since the pandemic started and everyone is, forced to stay at home in a way, quarantining themselves, I think I've seen a lot of my friends sharing their arts and crafts, that what they did at home, to kill time, to kill boredom, to kind of try to find a stress relief, with all the uncertainty that coronavirus has caused us, because we are going through, maybe some of the countries are still going through a certain kind of moment of uncertainty, but in Indonesia we're starting to get back to the new normal era or phase. That's what people say now. But yeah, so here I am going to talk about history of knitting. Bear in mind that I don't know how to knit yet, but I would really love to try soon. So I'm going to share with you, these are the things that I'm going to talk about. So basically defining what knitting is and the difference between knitting and, crochet. Where did it start or where it came from, and then knitting methods, as well as knitting and stress management. So what is knitting? Knitting is a method by which, yarn, which is in here, is manipulated to create a textile or fabric, and it is used in many types of garments. So you can literally make any style or like anything out of knitting with yarn and these two needles over here that you can see. I think you've seen lots of goods that are made with knitting. I think I can see lots of knitting in fabrics such as like not wedding gowns, but like dresses that people can out of knitting. And basically what you do is you use these two needles and then kind of wrapping the yarn over it, and trying to make a pattern in a way that it forms a certain thing that you want to make. say socks or a cap, even anything.
I
And
think
you
that,
can, yeah.
sorry, I was gonna say, I think hat is a really good example because, you know, in the UK, because all of us
Yes.
obviously live in the UK at some point, and our learners are still living
Yes.
in the UK, and we wear a lot of what do we call, like garments? Not but like we a piece of clothing that are
Yeah.
made out of knitting, like mitts. You know the is it called mitts or mittens?
The ones on
Yeah,
the hat.
like
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like
yeah.
farmers, and then hats, and then jumper as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to talk a little bit more about hats in
Oh,
England. How
sorry, I kind of
yeah.
interject there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So basically, like I heard Kezia mentioning about, you know, using your imagination is kind of a topic this week. Uh, basically, you can use your imagination to create anything with just a yarn and some two, basically. So yeah, the difference between knitting and crochet, it's just the way it's made.
Okay.
Basically use the same tools. You have the needle. The only difference is knitting uses 2 needles and then crochet uses only 1. And at the same time, so with the type of material, so yarn is a bit stretchy. I think a method that they normally use in crochet, it makes it more harder. It makes it harder to unravel, so it's strong. The grip of the yarn is stronger than when you do it in the knitting type of method. And also the other difference is that knitting is also normally done by hand, but it can also be done by a machine or a loom, whereas crochet can only be done by hand. So where did it come from? Where did knitting start? So there's been an ongoing discussions about where exactly it started, but a lot of historians found that a pair of socks in Egypt that was made around the 3rd till the 5th of century. This is the pair of socks, if you can see on the top right of the presentation. So the ideology or the idea behind making this knitted socks back then was because they were like, the Egyptians were having a hard time to adjust to make socks with different foot sizes. So because of the fibers or the cotton fibers, which was used back then instead of wool, it's a bit stretchy because the materials is stretchier than other materials. So knitted socks were made to be able to fit into different sizes of foot or feet, basically. And then it went on, it was developed, and then it was introduced to North Africa during the Islamic rule, where they also made some kind of like piece of art where they could put it on walls. So it's kind of like a fabric, and they put it as an art that you could share with people on your wall. So you basically put it on your wall. And then they have I don't have the picture here, but I should have put it here anyway, but you can find on Google the type of, not carvings, but the type of patterns that they use. It's very it shows a very not Islamic, like an Arabic or Mediterranean pattern, and they normally use the colors blue and white. And then moving on, knitting was later introduced in Europe through trade of wool. And here comes knitting in England. So basically, in the century, the spread of knitting happened in Europe. And this is the part where I wanted to talk about. In England, they made a rule that everyone except the noble person should wear a cap of wool knit, which is shown here in the picture. Like you mentioned earlier, Kezia, so these are, or like caps are actually very useful for probably the weather, because wool is very warm. So they did not explain why. When I was doing my research, they did not explain why this became a rule. But this rule has sanctions. So for whoever people who does not wear this cap, the knitted cap, they are supposed to pay a fine. Oh. It's a very interesting story, actually. But yeah, I should dig more about it. But if any one of you, if any one of the students can find out what is actually the story behind this, because I was trying to find the reason why, but I couldn't find it online. So if any of you knows, it would be really nice to share it with me, or share it to Kezia, and then Kezia will share it with me.
Or write it in the comment box below.
Oh yeah,
that would be good too. So yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. And then moving on, during the 17th century, the knitted silk jackets worn as informal dress known as waistcoats. So the type of waistcoat coat that they meant. It's kind of like a garment normally worn by men. Actually, it's kind of like a vest in a way. So yeah, so if you can see, knitting kind of became a state of fashion, could say it. And then knitting as an art, ever since knitting became a state of fashion, it also became well known amongst wealthier ladies. And the act of knit became a fancy or elegant occupation that they normally do, in groups of like noble women, and while they share their stories or they gossip about this person or that person. So it's kind of like it became a hobby for noble ladies. And then in the 19th century, there was a great exhibition. So basically it was a competition in England, where a lot of people submit their knitted work, and then I think they won like a prize. This dress on top of the top picture, this dress was made by Sarah Ann Cunliffe, and this was submitted for the great exhibition. And she actually spent 7 hours every day for 5 months to complete it. This is a baby gown. I don't know if I have the patience to make this dress.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's actually amazing how she could be very committed to, creating this masterpiece. And she made this gown with 6,300 yards of cotton, which is very amazing. And then during the 20th century until now, it still is a fashion kind of statement for knitted goods or knitted clothing. But there was a story where during the Second World War, actually knitting became kind of like lost its popularity, because during that time machines were being made. So knitting machines were made, and it produces lots of variety of fashion, knitted fashion, and it's also quicker to make using the machine. So a lot of people are not knitting anymore. But then in the 1970s, there is a designer called Cafe Facet. This person helped shift back the attitude of knitting by producing it's a kind of like a dress or a coat, just at the bottom of the picture. And then ever since, people started knitting more and more until today. So there are actually many methods of knitting. I actually got confused, so I'm just gonna simplify it into two knitting styles or knitting methods. So they differentiate it into two: English style and continental style. So the only difference is that it's only how you hold the yarn. So the English style holds the yarn in the dominant hand. So excuse me. So if you are right-handed, then you use that right hand. If you're left-handed, then use your left hand. Alongside working the needle, and then the continental style is the other way around. So basically, you hold the yarn with the non-dominant hand. I actually have two videos that I put here. Do you mind if I play the video, Kez?
Of course, that's fine.
Okay. So this is I'm probably just gonna fast forward it so that we don't spend a lot of time watching it. So this is the English hat. Fast forward.
Style knitting. So I was a little bit disappointed. How I do my flicking and how I can knit so quickly because of that. So I've already had a few ideas with you. Where you dropped it though. To wrap it. That really is my.
I'm gonna post that one. So if you can see there, the way she holds the yarn, it's on her dominant. Well, I hope her dominant hand is the right hand. So her dominant hand over here, and if you can see here, this is the continental style. Holds the yarn on the left side of the hand. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna play this video, but I can share with you the PowerPoint presentation if anyone wants to, so they can play. Or basically, you can always go to Google or YouTube to find ways to do knitting. Moving on. So, what interests me the most in talking about this topic is how knitting could help with stress management. Just a little bit of sharing. I had a bit of kind of like a down moment when I was self-quarantining. There are so many things happening. I think emotionally I was just unstable because of all the situation that is going on. So knitting, many studies proves that knitting could reduce depression and anxiety, and then it also slows down the development of dementia, distract from chronic pain, and increase overall sense of well-being. I saw a lot of my friends sharing, their moment, or like sharing a video of them like doing knitting, and I really want to commit myself to doing that. Maybe in the weekends, maybe I should. But since like many stores are closed, so I didn't know where to get the yarn and the needles. But I'm gonna definitely going to do it soon. And then a study also found that the act of knitting lowers heart rate by an average of 11 beats per minute. So it signifies the increase in relaxation. So I think it would be good. This is just one form. I think knitting is just one form of art or arts and crafts that you could do to kind of help cope with stress management. You can also do drawing. Some people do painting, coloring even, and so forth. And it is said that the repetitive and rhythmic movements, making those patterns, is a very repetitive movement. It is known to share a similar experience as meditation. I've also done a lot of meditation throughout my time self-quarantining. And I think I understand, I roughly understand why they said that knitting has shared the similar experience as meditation. I think it's because with meditation, you get to have a moment to yourself, and you only you try to focus your focus into one thing. So with the complexity of knitting, those patterns in very small holes, that makes your brain focuses on one thing and be present at that moment. That explains why they share a similar experience as meditation. And obviously, it also improves your hand and eye coordination, as well as keeping your brain sharp as in level of concentration. So that, because once you mess one pattern, the whole thing is going to be messed up. So yeah, it really exercises that kind of concentration towards doing one thing. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know, or please let Kezia know, and I would be happy to answer those questions.
Thank you for sharing, Riz. I was wondering one thing. Do you know if we can knit without, properly without the needles?
I think we can, as long as you have like that sharp tool. I think that the needles and the size of the needle defines the kind of between the patterns. Yeah. So I think you could just try to find a stick. If you have like I don't know, maybe we can try using like a tree stick that you could find in front of your house, or in front of your place where you live, or I don't know, anything that has similar like functions as a stick or like a needle,
like a pen. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you can try. Yeah, but yeah, it only defines the gaps between the knits. Yeah, you can basically use anything that you can see around you. You don't have to buy them or anything. Basically, that's actually a good question. I should actually start doing that.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to. Interesting thing to try this week. Maybe that will be for everyone of us that watches today. Oh, thank you so much, Riz. I'll see every one of you again tomorrow. We'll probably upload the video on the same time, which is 5 p.m. And there'll be other various topics that you can explore with me during this week. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Bye, Riz.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.